if we can have a vote then on to convene the PEG Access Advisory Committee in open session right now, and we are going to reconvene in open session as the first item on our agenda today. But so convening an open session now, let's take a roll call. Irwin? I see he's there, probably just.
I got muted by accident. Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
Megan?
Present.
And I'm present, so let's see, do we have?
You have a quorum, yeah, you got three.
Yeah, oh, okay, so we are so convened, and now I would like to close this session and open again in executive session. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, make sure we don't need to adjourn the meeting, you just
Oh.
need to move into executive session, but it just needs to include the language for as to the exemption and why we're doing it.
Okay, yeah, so this is a vote to enter executive session pursuant to MJL 30A exemption number 6, real property to consider the Comcast contract renewal.
And that you'll be returning to open session.
And yeah, we will be returning to open session after the business is over on the executive session. So do I have a motion to convene an executive session?
And make a motion to convene the executive session.
Second?
I'll second.
So Megan?
What do I need to do?
Just say aye.
Just say aye.
Oh, yeah, present. I, yeah.
Everyone?
You already said aye.
I'll say aye. Okay, so we are convened in executive
So we're
session.
just gonna let Nancy know that. she has-
Yeah, I just have a question because I've not done a Zoom with executive session before. What do I do? Do I have to leave the meeting or?
Yeah, we can put you in the waiting room, Nancy, and then.
Oh,
once-
okay, that's fine. And then you can just open it up when it's over?
Yep,
Okay,
Okay.
that's great. Thank you.
all right, so we'll see you in a little bit, Nancy, okay?
All right, thank you.
And then I disabled the waiting room so that way anybody who comes in can come in. And Nancy is here, so welcome, Nancy. We have reconvened in open session.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is future meetings with the time and the date beginning in February and through April. I think it's going to be a kind of a useful time span there. And it sounds to me like one of the issues here that we just discussed was whether we should try to make it somewhat earlier. You know, in the afternoon, say 3 o'clock or something on that line, or any other time that works better for people. Any preferences, Irwin? I know that you have actually an issue on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe.
I work from the office on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Tuesday, Thursday is better for me, but you know, if not,
Tuesday,
that's
Friday
fine.
or Tuesday?
Tuesday,
Thursday?
Friday, sorry. Tuesday, Friday is better for me.
Okay.
The only thing for me is my schedule is so crazy, so I don't, sometimes I'm just not available at all. So but the kids get home between 3 and 4, so it is a tough spot for me, but I've made it work so far, so it's not end of the world.
Yeah, I guess Monday seems like a good day to me. I don't
Yeah,
know
we
why.
we could just keep it, yeah.
Yeah, Jason, do you have,
I can, as long as there's enough notice, I can do really any day during the week. so,
okay,
Monday, if you wanna move it to 3, is fine with me.
Is that
how
better for
does
you,
that
Megan?
sound?
3 o'clock
That's
a
fine.
little better?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's all chaos anyway, so yeah.
3 would be much better for me.
Let's do it.
Say that again, Terry?
3 is much better than 3:30 for me.
3, oh, okay. Oh, wait, well, why don't we plan that then to meet on Monday, and let's see, what Monday of the month?
I
Um,
will be away in the middle of February, from the 8th to the 20th. But you might not need me. If it's a regular PEG meeting and no executive session, whatever, you could go ahead without me, no problem.
Well, how about the first Monday of the month? Does that sound satisfactory to people?
Starting the 5th.
Actually, considering that we're having our meeting this month quite late in the month. I don't know what the advantages are of having another meeting in 2 weeks.
Right.
Um,
Do you wanna make, if you like the beginning of the month, you could make the one in February, like on the 12th, and then move the one in March to the beginning of the month. That way, there's a little bit more space between them.
Okay, how does that sound to people then?
So
Fine.
meet
Good.
Monday the 12th at 3 p.m.
Monday, the 12th.
I'll miss the 12th, but no problem. I'm gonna be, I won't be able to do it on Zoom either. I'm gonna be in Morocco.
Ooh, enjoy.
That's my dream place to go.
I went once and I've been wanting to go back.
Mm.
So I do have a conflict, a CMLP conflict on the 3rd, meeting with E&E. Sorry, on March 4th. So if we do the Monday in March, I'm not gonna be around on that at that time.
Well, maybe we can do it the 12th for March as well,
The 11th,
the 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, that works.
Okay, so we have the 12th next month, the 11th in March, and
So it's either April 1st or April 8th.
April 8th.
Yeah, let's stick to the second week.
Okay,
I'm-
all right, so be it.
What are those dates again? What are the 3 dates again?
February 12th at 3 p.m.
Mhm,
March 11th at 3 p.m.
mhm.
and April 8th at 3 p.m.
Great, thank you.
Let's see, what is town meeting date?
The 30th, I believe.
April 29th.
29th
April 29th. Okay.
and the 30th.
Okay, so be it for item 4. Item 5 is minutes, and I've emailed out, you won't have had a chance to look at them, but I've emailed out minutes for September and December. And before we review that, there seems to be a missing video for November. And wonder if that's something that we can check on Jason
Yeah.
to see what's
You
going on.
know the
in
date of the meeting?
Yeah, let's see, I'll have to look that up.
Okay,
I'll,
probably have it on my calendar, so
Yeah.
I can find it.
so I'm just getting it here so that I can review these at the same time. I made a lot of paper copies here when I get down to it. This is December one for us to review.
Does November 2nd sound right? I had that on my calendar. Or was it Thursday or Tuesday?
Yes, it does.
Early on, okay.
This is the one for September. Okay, so starting with September, and just a note on both of these were both done with the Zoom AI companion. In large measure, although the one for December I edited quite extensively. The one for September actually looks better. So there really is no reason to review these in detail. We can postpone this until the next meeting if somebody's interested in doing so. I think it's they're fairly straightforward. There are probably still a few typos and misspellings, but in general, I tended to leave them because they're obvious, and it does kind of indicate what the quality of the AI companion is in Zoom. So the
Vince, how much time did that take? I'm curious as compared to having minutes done without the companion.
very fast, actually.
Okay,
I
all
think I think it took me less than a half an hour on
Okay,
one.
perfect.
So it is an advantage, and I think I strongly believe that Zoom and the Zoom companion are going to continue to improve.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, there was kind of a regression between September and December, but I think that had to do with the format that they were using, because in September they were using a kind of a bulleted format. And in December, it turned out to be a kind of a narrative discussion. And I think the narrative discussion probably taxed the, Chat GPT equivalent they're using. But without having a chance to review them in detail, if anybody wanted to do that, if you feel comfortable in basically signing off on these, I think it will, kind of get some of our backlog of minutes out of the way. There's still one set that's missing for June. And that was the time that we had some microphone problems, I guess. But I think between Carlin and I, we have enough to fill that in. And actually, there's something in that context, Jason, that I wanted to discuss with you, which we'll get to in the next topic, which is how we do write-ups for the town annual report.
Mhm.
But if, you feel comfortable without looking at them in detail, I propose that we sign off on the December and the September meetings. If you're willing to do so.
Sounds good.
Okay, do I have a motion then to approve the minutes for September 2023 and December 2023 as written?
So moved.
Second,
So, Erwin, how do you vote?
Hey,
Megan?
aye.
And I say aye. So approved, and we'll submit these to the town to post on the website, so we don't have so many blank spots.
Thank you.
And next item is MMN broadband update. Jason and whomever you think you might need from the staff.
Absolutely. Yeah, Julie unfortunately couldn't make it to today's meeting due to an obligation, but give a couple updates. First, a couple, I'd say maybe a month ago, Julie and I met with the co-principals here at CCHS along with Superintendent Hunter, and had a very productive meeting where we were trying to sort of re-engage the school population and let them know that we were here, our doors were open, that we were happy to help with whatever projects or ideas that the students and teachers had. And they were super excited about the potential for a partnership with our group and our team using this space and the equipment that we have here. So it was a really productive meeting. And the first thing that they said was, by the way, this weekend we have a Prism concert. And if you don't know what Prism is, it's this really creative use of light and sound, and students playing music in all areas of the auditorium, up in the catwalk, on the stage, in the audience, all over the place. Uses projection and lights. It's very aesthetically creative and a demanding environment to shoot, but our team was very excited to be a part of this and to help document it. So I think we had 5 personnel involved in that with 4 cameras set up, and they filmed it and spent quite a while getting the master audio file from the recording that was made and syncing it with the edited version that was made here. So kudos to Matt, Tori, and Julie and the entire team for all of their help filming that and coordinating. It was just posted a couple days ago onto the YouTube channel. So we're going to be adding chapters to that, so you can kind of find your way through the program. There are title cards now, but with the chapters, it'll be even easier. So I think it came out great, and it was a way for us to show the schools that we're happy to help however we can. Since then, we've been working on an Instagram promo reel that shows some of the services that we have, and the teachers, this is how they communicate with their students now, is Instagram. So they're going to be pushing out this Instagram reel soon to let the students know that MMN is now added to the Flex Block schedule formally, which means that students here in the high school can choose to come in and work with MMN for video editing and production, podcast, really anything that they want to convey with video or audio. So that's really exciting and kind of one of the missions and wings of what PEG is and means. So we're just really excited for that partnership to blossom, and I thank everyone for
Great.
help set up. We also have a couple new programming platforms that are coming out. We have a new podcast that's being recorded in the studio. This is our 2nd podcast now. And also, Megan, I know your father does woodworking, and apparently they shot
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and I'm producing it with him, so it's been really fun. And Tori brought 3 cameras and audio, and it was so cool. Just it's been really fun. So we have we're probably gonna do 12 episodes. Goal is like once a month. maybe half an hour shows. So it's been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is what PEG is for, public access, and so we're super excited just to get people in the door. We have a couple other things in pre-development that we're having meetings with people and understanding what they're trying to create. So just great to get some hyper local content made that's, you know, unique to Concord and Carlisle. So excited about that. We did complete the new camera install at the Ripley building, which is where they have all the school committee meetings. So if you'll remember, about a year ago, I believe, we, in conjunction with the school, we split the bill to replace a lot of the equipment in the back room to sort of improve the meeting quality over there at Ripley, because it was just really bad quality, washed out. And one of the objectives we had was to standardize the equipment we use, because our videographers were trained in the townhouse and then they couldn't ever go work at Ripley because it was a completely different setup, and same thing in Carlisle. So at the townhouse in Carlisle, we have very similar setups now, and at Ripley, a lot of that work done last year was to standardize that. But what happened is after we replaced all that equipment, we found that the quality was still very poor. It was because of all the cameras that we had mounted on the wall. They were very old cameras. They were also mounted upside down, a mistake, which is to say right side up. They should have been mounted upside down, which allows them to tilt all the way down. So there were shots we couldn't use one camera because it just was facing up in the air. And so we did that on our own. It was a capital request last year in the budget. We had to go through the procurement process with that, and we got a company in. They did a great job mounting everything. The first meeting is up now with the new cameras, but I'll say it wasn't quite to our standards, and we realized that there's a lot of actual setup and tweaking and training that needs to happen, and that was included in sort of the price, but we were rushing just to get it done before the next school committee meeting. So they're coming back tomorrow morning to tweak every single camera and make sure that the focus is set correctly, that all of our staff know how to use the new cameras and know how to adjust things if needed. And then tomorrow night we have a school committee meeting, so we'll be able to try it out. So hopefully, if you guys ever look at the January 23rd, 2024 school committee meeting, hopefully that is the new backroom equipment, the new cameras, and everything configured correctly. The new meeting to me still looked a lot better than the old meetings. The colors are richer. Everything was very washed out before. We've also changed the way, and I give Julie a huge amount of credit for getting this done, but we changed the way we actually record and create master files for the rooms that have fixed equipment. What we were doing is we have these, $3,000 cameras that are all in HD or 4K with very expensive equipment, but then we run all that through Zoom. And what they were doing is they were taking the Zoom meeting and putting that on YouTube. And, they also weren't using like wide shots and tight shots. They were just kind of using front of the room, back of the room shots. So sometimes you couldn't even see people's mouths moving as they were talking. So the first thing we did was instead of just a videographer pushing a button to record a meeting, they're actually doing technical directing, and they're making decisions about when to cut cameras, when to zoom in, when to go to the wide shot, when to use a different camera. So that has resulted in a higher quality, but they've also stopped using the Zoom recording, and they've started using the master file that's recorded on site and editing from that. And so what you're seeing is a, HD or better quality video as opposed to the Zoom compressed video. So a lot clearer, easier to see people speak, understand who's talking, especially in large meetings like FinCom or Select Board when there's a lot of people around the room. It can be really challenging to see who's speaking, and I think that just that enhances the viewer's quality, and you're going to see people actually stick around and watch a whole meeting as opposed to just kind of seeing the part that they know they're interested in. We're also putting more channels or chapters rather in the YouTube channel videos, so that way people can navigate through the agenda and sort of figure out where their relevant area of the video is. The Select Board town manager's office group is working on implementing new agenda management software, and with that is going to allow the ability for them to time code their agenda as they walk through it. And so we're hoping that time code will follow through to the YouTube video in the end, and then people will have a really seamless experience as they're watching the video, reading the agenda, looking at the minutes. They can easily hop around to different areas of the video.
Jason, when the meetings get recorded, is everybody on site, or are they doing it remotely from their home, for example?
No, they're doing it on site. Yeah, they're doing it on site.
So everybody has to be physically at Ripley.
Yep. And or the townhouse or
Right.
Carlisle. you know, we are, the next generation of technology will allow remote,
Right.
you know, management and everything. The challenge we have often is that if you have an in-room issue with audio or something, it's really nice to be able to walk over and say,
Yeah.
hey, your microphone's muted, or, you know, do
Yeah,
this. It's really hard when you're at home to do
Yeah.
that, but we certainly, for double booking or, you know, emergency issues, it'd be nice to be able to get something recorded if we have no resources. The other issue we have at the townhouse is that the hearing room and the select board meeting room have cameras in them each, but there's only one camera controller. So folks literally have to disconnect equipment, plug it in order to film one meeting to another. And we have double booking sometimes, or we have situations where the select board starts in the select board room and they walk over to the hearing room and have a hearing. And there always has to be a 5 minute to 10 minute delay in staff swapping equipment, doing a test and running through. So when we replace that equipment in the next 6 months, we're gonna obviously build that so that it can run 2 simultaneous meetings and be remotely managed as well. The last update that I just had was we deployed a new storage device. This was a kind of a surplus device that the town was not using, and so we did a transfer so that Minuteman Media could have it on the cheap because the town wasn't using it any longer, and it's providing them with I think 90 terabytes of storage, and this is just archival storage. This is materials that exist elsewhere, but we just really want to hang on to it in case there's ever a request for an old meeting or something that isn't in the rotation, that we can get to it. And also sometimes the folks have a lot of files that when they come back from the field shoot, and right now they're sit on SD cards or they're on these portable hard drives and they kind of live all over the place. So this gives them one place to keep everything, and it's fully backed up and redundant array of disks. So much better than what they had been doing before. And I think that's my last update for operations at Minuteman Media.
Now, that last topic is that there's still a substantial backlog of old DVDs of meetings.
Yeah, there are,
Yeah.
and we have actually, so we've been training our videographers who are interested and have the time for more hours to get experience editing and doing data transfers so that we can churn through those. So one thing that's really nice is that we're completely caught up with every Zoom meeting request that we have. And typically what happens is, you know, we prioritize the big four, which is the school committee, the FinCom, the select board, and then planning board, or, you know, those sorts of meetings. But some of the other advisories, task forces, those meetings might not be posted for a few weeks because of staff time. So we've changed the process on how meetings are converted and sort of diversified the pool of people doing the work. And now we're completely caught up with everything, and we're getting to things much more quickly because we're getting this this time that was budgeted that just wasn't really being used before. And now hopefully those folks can start converting some of those old meetings too.
Okay, I actually have a kind of a series of questions on some other things that MMN is doing or could be doing. It kind of overlaps into a mission statement, but just really starting out with some of the things that seem to be coming up in the very near future. I see that Bob Andrews reports that COA has gotten a grant to improve the quality of the assistive listening devices, at least at COA. And that area particularly, there's, I think, three conference areas there. There's the auditorium, there's what's called a clock tower room, then there's a room downstairs. And they've always been, in particular, the main auditorium, there has always been problematic because it had very old equipment.
Yeah.
And it seems that anything that improves the assistive listening abilities there can potentially improve that to a great extent. So I don't know the size of the grant at this
Yeah,
point,
I
but
thought it was $10,000. I remember talking to Eileen about it early on, but I'm not sure of the
Yeah.
details.
I was just wondering if, you know, you thought that that could maybe,
Yeah, we definitely need to make some investments in that area because it's used for hearings too, public hearings, and we had a lot of challenges the last public hearing with some of the equipment that's there. The projector died. There were just several issues with that meeting space. So we'd love to work with them to get that better. Our the town has a dedicated sort of officer for ADA compliance, and that has
Right.
shifted a few times because it was Kate Hodges who left. And then it became somebody else, and then it became Megan, our deputy town manager, and now it has fallen to Jess Porter, who is our assistant town manager and HR director. So she is aware of the projects and grants. She directly manages Eileen over at the COA. And so we'll be working with her on this and getting her up to speed with what's been done in the past and what we're trying to do in the future. But we also have roped in 141 Kai's Road to that conversation. They have a lot of meetings there, you know, planning board, zoning, NRC. So we're trying to get assisted listening devices or better sound solution over there too. And it'd be great to have a single platform so people don't have to keep learning different things and make sure that it's modern and compatible with devices. You know, people really like the Bluetooth piece so that they can just connect their existing devices to it if they have one already, or their phones. So yeah, so we're trying to coordinate that so that it's a similar platform.
Well, that actually then extends over into some of the other things that the assistive listening device group has been involved with for quite a long time. And, you know, Bob Andrews has been a real spark plug on this, but they used to have a list of venues. I think there was about 15 of them that were frequently used for public meetings that they thought, you know, should have equipment that was suitable for people that had, you know, some degree of hearing loss. And the, I believe that the committee handbook lists just a slightly smaller number of locations that, you know, are used or can be used by committees depending on their inclinations and their kind of geographic proximity, you know, to various parts of town. And certainly Kai's Road seems to be popular with a number of groups. And by the way, people here may not know what we're using for this meeting. Jason and I were discussing this before, but there's a device called the OWL, which is a 360-degree device. So as we speak, and I don't really know what you see as the speakers change here, depending on the view that you select, but this device has some smarts. In addition to showing a very wide angle view as people talk, it will be, and maybe is zooming in on the person that's talking. You may see some kind of strange things going on where it occasionally picks up the wrong person or gives you a view that you didn't expect. But this is potentially, you know, one of the types of equipment that is an indicator of new equipment, which should be installed in all of the venues that are being used for committee, board meetings of all types. And I'm not sure, Jason, is what is the notion there about rolling out new equipment, you know, into all of the places where meetings are held right now? And clearly there's some expense involved in this, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of look at it from the perspective of what do we need to make it, to bring it up to meeting room standards, which includes the ability to cover it with a videographer, but also to cover it without one, and then to provide good audio for the people in the room, the people participating remotely, and then any participants who are watching or interacting with the meeting. So, you know, we don't really have, every venue is different and has different requirements in terms of its size and spatial design and how you're going to hear audio, and whether it's a very small room. I mean, this I would kind of consider a smallish room, but some are much longer. And if the audience is sitting 20 feet away, obviously there's different requirements than if they're sitting just a few feet away. So we just try to take all those things into consideration when designing a solution. And then if it's for the covering of the meeting, then PEG Access will provide some funding for that. If it's a town facility issue that's used for staff and for staff meetings and things, then the facilities will, you know, implement that strategy. So it's just kind of just be a good partner with the town.
Terry, I know that one of the things that you commented upon before is the kind of the speaker and audio setup in the town hall and the main meeting room there, and also I believe, I've seen changes recently in the select board room there, but, I know that's always been an issue, and I think it's probably still ongoing, Jason, on having meetings taking place in both the, select board room and the main meeting room there at the same time. Is there, a solution in progress for that, or?
Yeah, I
is that-
mentioned that already, so we
Oh.
do have a solution in
Okay.
progress, yep, and so. If you'll remember, last year's budget set aside money to renovate the cameras in the townhouse, and part of that money will be used to sort of split this two systems so we can have simultaneous meetings.
There seemed to be a kind of an inherent acoustics issue there in the main,
There is,
Town
yeah,
hall.
and that, yeah,
Oh.
that's obviously beyond even just meeting coverage, but for just, if you're in the room, it's not great either, it's hard to hear, and
yeah,
any little conversation is amplified and it makes it harder to hear the speaker. And they have been looking into people that come in and make recommendations for fabric or drapes or other things that
Right.
can be added that are historically accurate, that can help, fix the acoustics of a challenging room like that.
I think that would be, a well-deserved expenditure there is to, get in somebody that's really knowledgeable about acoustics
Right.
to do that. Is that in progress or?
That's a great question. It's in the town manager's office hands right now, so I don't know the answer, but I know that the last time we spoke to them about our, project that we want to work with them on, because they might want to redesign the flow of a room or change the orientation of equipment. That was brought up as an action item that they were gonna do, but I haven't heard if they've done it yet, so. When we
But I
start that,
do think that the sound quality is much better since, Mark Pauly did whatever he did last year. It's still
Agreed.
got a ways to go, but we can use the room now, whereas before, we couldn't even have a meeting there. And thank you for Jason, for working on getting the ability to have meetings in both of those rooms, or to switch easily from one room to another. That's very good, thank you.
yeah,
I know that will make the assistive listening people very happy too. I've seen that happen at a couple of the sheriff's breakfasts at at this point. Just one question on one other thing that, Jason, you and I have discussed before is the, mobile apps that Telview has, and, is there any progress in?
so the mobile apps are not compatible with our current system, but our system is end of life. It's 13 years old, and we are in the process of replacing it with a new system. Right now, we've been going through the procurement battles, just trying to work with the town and their folks in finance to make sure that we, dot every I and cross every T in that step. This is kind of on the threshold of that $50,000 mark, which triggers a lot of other things that we need to do. So just taking a hard look at the project and making sure that we get everything that we need, but we follow all the right protocols. So it's been kind of stuck in that process for a few months now, but we do see light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope to have approval in the next week or two to move forward. And that, once we get that upgrade in progress, that's when we will be able to add these other channels and apps.
Just for people that aren't familiar with that, these mobile apps, and one of the things that'll be very useful to do, by the way, is to find out what types of devices people do use to, view various town activities, not only the governmental activities, but any kind of programming, do they do it on desktop PCs anymore, laptops, phones, tablets? And it will be very useful to, get some, numbers on that, which hopefully we can do by, getting some metrics both from YouTube and, through, Google Metrics. But, what it is, it's a dedicated app. It should make it much easier for people both to find out what's going on and also just to log into the activity. Hopefully, even doing something like the session that we're having now would be easier if everybody had that app on whatever device they're using. I think that can be demonstrated, without needing to have our own specially tuned version first. Bill Ricca has one in use. There's several other places that are using them in kind of a variety of contexts. There's in Minneapolis, for instance, a couple of the suburban regions there that have actually tuned up so that all of them are using basically the same app. And it's very interesting in the way that they're able to cooperate, on some activities like news programming that affects things more than a single town, that's really covers an entire region, abutting towns, more or less. And there's really so many things, that in the Western metro area here, or in things like almost the same number of towns that, Liz Rust deals with, that can be covered more efficiently and also much more easily by the people that are viewing them. So, I think maybe what we can do in advance, if it's not already, going to be a definite as far as moving forward, is to do up some kind of demos, sometime in the next few months, ideally maybe before town meeting at some point. And get, in addition to, some sampling of the boards and the committees and the commissions, is also the town clerk and the town moderator. The town moderator in particular, I think, has been, very, very much involved with what's getting done on a regional basis. And there's things like voting, for instance, in the at least municipal election that looks like it's worth revisiting again. And this also applies even to that type of activity. So if maybe we can get something set up, I think, Jason, you had mentioned that there was a TV set here in the studio that, maybe we could outfit and do some demos here.
Yeah, I'll check with Julie to see what's possible.
And depending on the timing, as you say, what you think is the timing
Right.
going forward here. But that's all I had on this topic. And actually it covers, I think that the next topic here was the mission statement, but rather than try to get into that, which would be a fairly lengthy topic at this point, is just to cover some of the things that might be coming up in the near future. There's one other thing I can think of, Irwin, that you had mentioned at the last meeting about, what would be some of the other forms of programming that people can think of in their own interests or kind of maybe of interest to a broader audience. You had mentioned maybe like a white pond cam.
I think we want to wait till it gets a little warmer, because there's very little activity now except the ice. But I recall Jason said there is I don't know what the right term is, head end or equivalent, at part of at somewhere where the new construction happened. So maybe one of those retiring cameras could be outfitted. Not quite sure how we would pull that off.
The Ripley cameras that you're talking about?
Or any or purchase a camera. I mean, it doesn't have to be
Right.
anything. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
So when you say the construction, the middle school construction or the White Pond?
No,
Well, just
the white pond.
Yeah, okay.
White pond, kind of looking at nature,
Yeah,
basically.
when they, because there's a whole renovation at White Pond. So when
Right.
that got done, somewhere
Right.
in one of the buildings, and maybe, I'd be happy to go do a site visit with somebody to see just where that's located and what type
Yeah.
of, what type of what type of connection do you need, and can we just see what it takes to do that?
Mhm.
Well, that's actually a whole category that extends all over the world and seems to be quite popular on YouTube, although of course everything is popular on YouTube. But it's really just for cameras that are set up to
Right.
a particular location, what's going on. And some of them are done, kind of on a municipal basis or on the basis of even private companies that have some promotional interest in doing so. There's a friend of mine, for instance, that likes to look at Venice, and there's a camera set up to watch the Grand Canal 24/7.
That's cool.
It's quite interesting, to see the gondolas and tourist boats going up and down the Grand Canal. But there turns out there was a New England group that's very similar. Some of them are from individuals that have their own surveillance camera set up, looking out the window. And others are by municipalities or some other organized group to do it. And I'll post a couple of YouTube links, send around the link for it. One thing, Erwin, that this would include is that I don't know what interest you have, if any, in surveillance cameras, set up on your property, but I've seen some individuals that basically do that. They just set up one camera that's looking out a window with a nice view.
Right. Yeah, I think I'd rather try what's there now in one of the buildings I got built and see what it would take,
Mhm.
than just put up a $60 camera looking outside my window.
Yeah, some of them seem to work very well.
Yeah.
It's actually quite amazing on the quality of some of these very inexpensive cameras. So, I don't know if let's see, I was just trying to think if there's anything else that seems to be coming up kind of on the immediate side.
Yeah, once it gets a little warmer, I'm gonna re-engage and maybe schedule a visit with somebody to come down, go down there. Somebody has to have the keys to get into the right building. I don't even know where it's located, so take a little bit of work.
I would like to, bring up the mission statement in a broader context, but I have some work to do there in, getting the documentation to support that. Terry, that goes back to something that we've discussed on and off. I don't think I've discussed it with you that much, Jason, but, it's with the kind of the cyclical nature of the cable TV committee, which is, a job that basically PAC had as always part of its charter, because it's always been kind of a Rip Van Winkle situation, for a 10-year contract that basically there's a contract negotiation and signing cycle there. Then that basically disappears until the next part of the 10-year cycle, and then it reemerges. Since that time, for a variety of reasons, actually, I think going back to 2005, there actually has been a kind of not a standing committee, but a committee that lasted at least a little bit longer, to oversee, or at least be involved to some extent with the activities of MMN, because MMN, of course, used to be a 5013C corporation, and that required a kind of an annual review, for going over it. Now, there still may be some argument for doing that, but, even as a town department, there are, some reasonable arguments for having some kind of an oversight process or an involvement process by PEG access. But in the context of reducing the number of committees in town, that's another option, and, so there are a number of things involved. I don't necessarily have a whole trunkload of information on any or all of them, or any, specific opinions on my part, but there is a number of academic and institutional studies of NFCC studies directly of what the real purpose and mission is for MMN. And that is a subject that I think will be useful to bring up, hopefully, even at our next meeting. But as I said, I need to do some homework on getting some of that reference material together. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about what they think the ongoing mission of MMN should be, but by all means, this is not a specific set of objectives that even the consultants and experts and FCC itself has. It's quite interesting even, on how the opinion of the FCC changes on this. I think every election, actually, there's a strong movement on their part to get rid of public access TV altogether. And so it depends on who's basically in office, and that's not a statement of opinion, it's really a statement of fact. And they acknowledge it more or less. It's, why I think it's fortunate that the Biden administration has been able to get in actually a new chairman for the FCC at this point. It looked like the Republicans were gonna, drag their feet till the next election and just see how it turned out. But if
Don't they have
anybody
like, don't they have long terms, like 7-year terms, so they can't be booted out, or am I making that up?
They do, I believe, but it seems like that if the administration changes, that the existing chair tends to bow out.
Oh, okay.
Really. I think that was well, the last chair did not bow out, but he reached the end of his term. Basically, I think the chair before him did, who was, as I recall, it was Colin Powell's son, who was the chair of the FCC. Typically, what ex-FCC chairs do is they become part of the lobbying apparatus.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So they still have a job, and they're usually getting paid a lot more money after they get out of the FCC. But in any case, I think that covers mission statement. The next thing we need to cover is the town paperwork. We have a write-up to do to fit into the town annual report. I believe that is due Thursday or Friday of this week. It overlaps with, Jason, I think, what's being done as an enterprise fund by from your end.
Right. Yeah, we've done our yearly update for the annual report for MMN as a town department, but then the committee has their own sort of entry.
Okay, and Jason and Carlin have both passed on to me what Carlin did last year. From the PEG Access Advisory Committee standpoint. I think the main things that are kind of new and changed there are the work in particular that the PEG Access Committee has kind of sponsored and overseen about, again, the contract negotiations, and in particular, the focus groups and the survey to some extent. The survey, by the way, Jason, has that been made public at all, or?
That's a good question. I've
Certainly.
not seen the synthesis of it other than what Sue delivered as her sort of impact summary of that through the negotiation process. So I know that it's cited in the negotiation, but I haven't seen like a document that summarizes it. Would you like me to ask to see if we can get that?
Yes, I think so, because, actually, I've been asked by a couple of people, what the results of that survey were. Since that was, and does potentially, reflect the interests of the people in town about their opinions, both at Comcast and, and in what they are doing, have been doing, and should be doing. So, I think that would, be, very useful. The, other, main things that are new or changed, and let me look at Carlin's write-up, just to remind me of things that we call. One was the, program awards. And there's an update since that became a formal activity, the year before last, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you covered that, Jason, at all. We were gonna try to overlap there. One thing that had occurred to me is to, take that last round of program awards that we did in June and just make sure that everybody was named, so that they would be in there for the record.
Right.
Because it is useful for people's resume purposes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And, I'll double check with Carlin since she had made up all the certificates.
Okay. Yeah.
If you haven't already covered that on yours.
So we did list them in there, the staff and the awards that people have gotten.
Oh, okay. All right, then our reports overlap, but since your report has it, then we'll need that to take up verbiage
Right.
basically on this, because I think one of the interests for the town report is to kind of keep out the length of these, in
Right.
terms of summarizing what's been done. The purposes of PAC. I'm just looking here to see how much has changed. That gets into the mission statement, but if there's some significant changes there, they really wouldn't affect what happened this past year. I think that section probably will remain more or less unchanged. I'd say aside from that, that was one of the things that I circulated as attachment, so you should all have that. Is just to look through that list that's titled 2021 PEG Access Advisory Committee Report. To see if there's, anything that, we haven't mentioned thus far that PAC should be reporting on as its activities. And Erwin and Megan, you'll be seeing this for the first time. So, if there's something that you spot in there, let me know and I'll try to finish up a draft in the next couple of days and circulate it for everybody's review.
I'm gonna need to bail very soon though, so. So it's past 5 o'clock.
Okay, and I'll circulate that to you too, Jason, just to make sure that we can
Right.
kind of condense things and
Agreed.
take up as little space as possible.
Okay. Sounds good.
So moving on to. And we are at 5 p.m. If there are any liaisons, public comments? Liaisons, I don't see anybody here from Carlisle aside from Nancy. Nancy, if you are here and,
I don't have anything to say, except a little comment on the screen looks a little strange. The Zoom screen looks a little strange. In case you're trying to evaluate it.
Okay, yeah, we can work on that. We literally just took it out of the box, so I don't think it's.
Yeah,
gonna con-
okay, that's fine. Then, it's okay with me. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's
for
all I
feedback.
have to say.
okay, Terry, I don't know if you had any comments you'd like to make?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, if not, I think we're all ready to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, Erwin,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Vince, I. So moved, we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you very much.
See you in February.